Okay, so I think we can get going. So welcome everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the virtual artist talk hosted by Art Together. Art Together is an Oakland-based nonprofit organization that supports the immigrant and refugee community through arts programming. Specifically, we have three prongs of this organization: community workshops, artist support program, and our advocacy program. We are currently in the, before actually I get to this, I also wanted to mention that Leva Zand, our executive director, is also here in this world. So if you had any questions for her, please feel free to approach her. We are currently in the virtual rendition of Art Together's exhibition. And then I think for, let's see, virtual rendition of Art Together's latest exhibition, Overlap, Home, Immigration, and Identity. This exhibition was curated by Andrea Guskin and sponsored by the Bayfair Center in San Leandro. If you would like to see this exhibition in person, it is currently exhibited at San Leandro's Bayfair Center, running at least until May 1st. Tonight we have artists Nimisha Doongarwal, Roya Ebtehaj, and artist and curator Andrea Guskin present, who will be presenting their work. Thank you so much for being here. Each of them will be presenting their artworks and their art practice in general that might extend beyond this exhibition, and we will enter a Q&A portion at the end of this their presentation, and we'll get to hear them respond to your questions. So if you have any questions for the artists, please message me right here in this via this envelope, and I will be able to share your questions with the artists. I wanted to do a quick question. Can everyone see Namisha right now? Roya or Andrea, can you see Namisha? Okay. So Namisha, would you mind just refreshing your screen once? I think this is one of those quirks that we are encountering right now. So let's see, I think Namisha is going to refresh, and I'm going to broadcast her really quickly. And then we can also get going. Let's see. Okay, so everyone should be able to see Namisha now. Thank you for doing that. Let's see, so I'm now introducing Namisha. Namisha is a mixed media artist and an engineer by day. She has been featured in publications such as Forbes and has exhibited in museums and galleries, including Root Division, Oakland Asian Cultural Center, Berkeley Art Center, and also the DeYoung Museum in San Francisco, to name a few. So I'd like to just pass it along to Nimisha right now to present her work. And again, if you'd like to enlarge her screen as she shares her work, please click this square on the bottom right of her screen.
Thank you, Andrea. Give me a second. I'm just sharing my screen. Cool. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Hey, good evening, everyone. So, first of all, thank you for joining the artist talk today. Glad you could all make in here. So I'm as Andrea already mentioned, but I'm Nimisha. Generally, a little bit about me. I am an immigrant from India, and I came to United States in 2007. And I'm also a software engineer, and that's what brought me to United States. And along with that, I enjoy doing arts, and most of the pieces which are exhibited in the Overlap exhibition, they are basically part of a series I have been exploring for a while. It is to explore identity, primarily focusing on immigrants and people of color. A lot of this started in last 4 years during Trump's administration, with whatever issues I've been seeing, so that the art became a way of for me to communicate that and bring my concerns or my opinion out through my artworks. So Generally, I create these conceptually layered pieces, combining paint, photography, sometimes fabric, and a lot of times this digital prints, which is kind of in order to explore this varying relationship between colonial past, which I feel a lot of us kind of can relate to, especially people of color or immigrants. Through our through historically, and what I try to do is try to link it back to our popular culture, us today. So generally, during my process, I move a lot between digital and traditional mediums. My first drafts generally are created as these digital images, which I generally use iPads or computer software to create. And then I start using more of traditional medium like collaging, photo transferring, and sometimes also painting. Mostly, I use wooden panels, which is where most of my paintings would take as actual traditional artwork. And most critical piece through my whole process is the research. So I'm very systematic during this research process because at that point I'm trying to conceptualize every portrait, and a lot of the work is understanding what images goes along to create these portraits, and that's where I'm super organized. But after that, everything is very spontaneous. I try to keep this creativity flowing and be very spontaneous. So it is very well possible a painting I did one day could look completely different based on my mood next day. But I really like that because it keeps me very spontaneous and creative, and doesn't makes every painting very unique just because it is spontaneous. And a lot of this combines collaging, tearing papers, combining paper like pieces together once I've created this prints for every image I've created digitally. So each portrait, as you can see in the image, creates kind of like an abstract identity with combining a lot of characteristics which defines who we are and what makes us unique, instead of kind of focusing on this physical trait like your face, race, color, appearances, and things like that. But that's what I focus, and you can see that in this image. So this is more like a hybrid, shows a beauty of hybrid society and represents how roots of colonization can be seen in this contemporary culture. If you enlarge it, you can see all of those like small details which kind of combines those colonial past and our culture society today to create this silhouette. I generally believe very strongly. For me, identity is not who you are, kind of from your facial traits or how you look, but it is very much a thing which defines each of us as person, and things which makes us very unique, and makes us the person we are, which is what I think has been due to all of this cultural shifts, a lot of traditional overlaps which we went through or our ancestors went through this time, and that's what makes us unique. But one other thing which I feel is this has made us unique, but it has also made us very similar to each other. We all are kind of more similar than different if we actually look at it that way. So to me, I think the reason why I created these kind of art is, for me, it's just unbelievable that we are still struggling with issues like racism, especially in US, because I see US as a country made of immigrants and by immigrants. So it's even more surprising that we still are in that phase here today. And through these portraits, I want viewers to understand how similar we are to each other, and irrespective of the physical appearance we have. I don't know how many of you got a chance to look at these images, but if you go and look at these in person, you would find yourself trying to find layers, trying to figure out what connects with each other, and how this came to be. And for me, that's exactly what I want everybody to look at the person they're interacting with, instead of looking at their outer surface or how they look. Try to have that interest in them, try to figure out who they are, which is what is going to be really beautiful, because we will figure out that we are more similar, and that'll cause us to love each other rather than kind of that have a hatred or stereotyping others. And that's basically the purpose of my art, and through this kind of work I really want to um, like my ultimate goal is that raising that awareness, and mostly around the social issues we face, especially the people of color, and encourage viewers to have that love for or embrace the cultural diversity, and think at it as a way that these portraits look beautiful because they're colorful, but our society is even more colorful, so we should all embrace that. And if you are already doing, kind of like step up for equality for all. So that's basically my motive through my work, and I try to represent it in a way which is visually digestible but also sends that message to the viewer. There's just some other works, but that's all I wanted to talk about my art. And thank you again for being here to hear my art process and a little bit about my artworks.
Yeah, thank you so much, Namisha. That message is so important right now, especially
You're
right.
muted.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you so much, Nimisha, for sharing that. Now I would like to introduce everyone to Roya Ebtehaj. Roya is an interdisciplinary artist and educator based in the Bay Area. She's teaching as a postdoctoral fellow at Santa Clara University. She has exhibited her work nationally and internationally in different venues such as Kyoto Shibori Museum, again, Root Division, Richmond Art Center, Berkeley Art Center, as well, to name just a few of many. And yeah, I would like to pass it on to Roya now for her presentation.
Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna share my, so you guys hear my voice, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna share my screen. And you all see the screen that I shared, yeah?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Hello, everyone. My name is Roya, and I'm one of the participating artists, obviously, in this show. Before I start my presentation, I would like to thank Art Together for giving us this platform to present our work and also be connected to the community. And also thank you all for joining us tonight. Take your time and be here. Before I tell about my artwork, I would like to tell you a little bit about my background. The photo that you see of me, it's me with my nephew, and this is a really important photo for me. That's the reason I shared with you, because I met him for two reasons. First of all, because I met him for the first time last month when I visited my hometown, and also the other reason is that I came back to my hometown after my immigration to US, like for almost after 6 years. So I'm originally from Iran, and as Angura said, I actually came here in 2015 to continue my education, and I did my Master of Fine Art in Digital Media Art. Right now, I am a postdoc fellow at Santa Clara University, where I teach and also practice art. I'm a multidisciplinary artist, so here are some examples of my work. I mainly work across new media art, so digital art and computer-based art is the main or the primarily medium that I work with. I just like create virtual reality, augmented reality art, 3D art, 3D animation, 2D animation, installation work, and also photography and videography. So if I want to tell you about the concept of my art, most of my art is related to my background as an Iranian woman and also a woman who comes from the Middle East and works at the intersection of the art and technology. So if I want to expand more or give you examples, most of the subjects or themes of my works are related to immigration, identity, technology, and also internet culture. The concept of my work is more serious topics, and for the most part, they are sad stories. So I would rather, in order to keep my audience or the viewer engaged and not traumatized, I want to keep my aesthetic is more colorful and also in some cases more abstract. Sometimes I get ideas based on my personal stories or memories, and sometimes I listen to other people's stories. And also, as I mentioned, I also get inspired a lot when I see people that they how they interact with technology, specifically today. So in this exhibition, I have two pieces. Both of them are digital painting / digital collage. One of them, which is the one on the left that you see, it's called Shazde. And Shazde means son of the king in Farsi. And the one on the right, it's called Sufi. I am assuming you all know what Sufi is, but for those of you, if you're not familiar, Sufi refers to a person that practice Sufism, which is a subcategory of Islam. So both of these pieces were created during the time and moments that I wanted to wind down from the serious topics, and I wanted to just like explore more and enjoy Persian and Islamic motifs and forms and symbolism, and spending like some time working and just like meditating with this digital painting and digital collages. In terms of concept, I can just like explain it maybe later during the Q&A. Definitely, I will be happy to answer any question if you have. I think that's it for now. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. And yeah, I will be more than happy to answer questions later.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Roya. Again, if you have any questions for the artist, please feel free to message me right here in my inbox, and I can relay those questions to the artist. And yeah, we can go from there. Next up, I would like to introduce Andrea Guskin. Andrea is an artist, educator, and curator based in the Bay Area. Andrea Guskin's art practice explores layers of social, emotional experience related to ancestry, immigration, and domestic life. She also works as an educator, has worked as an educator at the CJM in San Francisco. As an artist, she has presented her artworks at spaces like Red Poppy House in San Francisco, Community Art Lab, and Berkeley Art Center, just to name a few. And yeah, I'm passing it over to Andrea, who has started sharing her screen at the moment. So yeah, I will mute myself here.
Hi. Yes, sorry. I wanted to make sure I got it up. Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Just want to make sure you're hearing me okay, right? Okay, great. First of all, I just want to thank Art Together, Angira and Leva, and also Roya and Namisha. It's wonderful to hear about your work, and been so happy to work with you all on this exhibition. I'm going to start with telling a little bit about my art practice in general, and then I'll be more specific about the artwork that's up at as part of Overlap. So as Angira mentioned, my art practice explores the layers of social and emotional experience related to ancestry, immigration, and domestic life. And I consider the blurred parts of my own and others' family history, faces and facts that are often lost due to movement across land and oceans. I am fascinated with what is unknown about our past that we carry with us. What you're looking at are two pieces from two separate bodies of work. On the left is a piece called Tracking Absence. It's a diptych in balsa wood from a body of work called The Temporary Collection of an Ordinary Bloodline that I'll mention more in a few minutes more about. And on the right is called From One to Another. It's a small work on canvas from a series called In Knots, which contemplates domestic life and ancestry. So in my mixed media pieces, I combine everyday materials of mending and common household items like thread, tape, matches, and cotton rounds that you might use to, clean your face, with photographic images, paint, and ink. The work from the In Knot series, which you're looking at right now, they were simultaneously contemplations of the lives of my female ancestors. Here on the left is my great-grandmother Yetta, who unfortunately I never met, but I often work with images of her, and their relationship to domestic life, or my imagining of their relationship, as well as my own personal experience as a mother. I also, this is from a recent series, Hold Me in the Palm of Your Hand, that was recently on view at Red Poppy. And for this, I combined community engagement with the object creation, where I, at the beginning of lockdown last year, I requested friends and family to send me an image of their palm lines, their inside of their palm. And these lines, I studied them and used them, sewed them in thread, and combine them with images of water and bridges and land. And they are contained in these wooden boxes that are simultaneously places of refuge and reflections on absence. So as you have already seen in some of the work, I often incorporate images from my own ancestry in order to tell visual stories regarding immigration and refuge. For a long time, I didn't have very many images in hand from my family. One afternoon a few years ago, I found a Black family album that was dated back between 70 to 100 years. And in this marvelous album that I found, it housed many faces, some known, some unknown, sitting on stoops, reading newspapers, people huddling together uncomfortably. And seen here is work and details of some of the work that's at Bayfair. The two pieces you see on the right are from She Sheltered in Place, and the piece on the left is a detail from Let Me Look at You. So these are details from large-scale panels, part of the body of work I call Temporary Collection of an Ordinary Bloodline, and they are visual story maps of immigration, movement, and search for refuge. They are made up of found images, and here you see blurred faces from my ancestors, from this particular photo album, on cotton rounds, and they're combined with also microscopic images of blood. This is a piece that is in the Bayfair exhibition, Let Me Look at You. The meaning of this piece is really just let me look, is a request. Let me look at the history, let me look at the past. And I'm combining abstractions of thought explorations with fabric, thread, and vintage images. And here are two details from those pieces. So the socially engaged part of my practice is designed to move beyond the boundaries of the art object, mapping paths that become roots of connection and experience. These projects include the works on display, the collaborative pieces on display, and my artworks on display at Bayfair, and also Filling in Spaces project. These are images from an event. I did 3 events with the From Where to Here project, which was sponsored by the city of San Leandro. And I partnered with the city of San Leandro and Community Impact Lab. It was a series of participatory art events, music events that sought to create a celebratory space and to honor the journeys taken to reach the city of San Leandro. I invited local communities to share their immigration stories through conversation, collaborative painting, and also a typewriter text activity called the Typewriter Memory Project. So here are some images from that project. The images on the right are actual paintings made by community members. And then on the left, you see some of the art making that happened at the events. Using the trajectory of their family's journey as inspiration, community members created wood paintings that became part of the From Where to Here interactive collaborative paintings that are on view. So what they did is, as they came into the event, it started with a conversation with me about where they or their family are from, and then they mapped out on a world map using tape, they mapped out the trajectory of their journey and used that as the starting point for their artwork. After they were finished, holes were drilled in each painted panel. Now, the painted panels that were the beginning that I started, making space for the creativity of the community members and to signify the need for all the voices in the community to be heard. People were encouraged to, there was a small rod attached to the back, and so people were encouraged to move the small wood pieces around the panel to create their own version of the project. So this is just a short video that shows the process. So anybody that could walk up could take these various pieces and interchange them. So the pieces as they are at Bayfair is actually just one iteration of the work. And my hope is to keep this as an ongoing project and to create events all over the Bay Area, using these as a starting point, but also maybe also additionally creating other interactive works. Sorry, 1 second. Let me stop that. So filling in spaces. This exhibition signaled the launch of my newest project, Filling in Spaces, which is an effort to transform vacant commercial space into creative opportunities for Bay Area artists. In addition to the exhibition opportunities like overlap, home, immigration, and identity, my real hope for this project is to create partnerships and pathways by which commercial vacancies can be utilized for artist studios and community engagement. So just generally, I strive to create work and experiences that connect while they challenge pulling at the threads between object creation, social engagement, and meaningful community participation. And I will stop sharing now.
All right. Yeah, thank you all, Roya, Namisha, and Andrea for sharing your artwork. It is, we are at Art Together. It was so important for us to have artists who were immigrants to showcase immigrants and refugees to showcase their personal stories or their perspectives in this exhibition that's at the Bayfair Center. And at this point, I wanted to sort of like open up the floor to questions. If you have had the chance to send me any questions that you have for the artists, please, thank you. And if anyone else has any questions, please feel free to message me right here with this in this envelope for any questions. And I'll also start with some of my own. So my first one is to Nimisha. I know that like Andrea discussed some of her artworks and how like she selects the images in her artwork through her family history. How about yours? Like yours is also a little bit like collage based. And how are you picking some of the images? And I saw some like Hindi script there too in your pieces. So how are you selecting these for them?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for the question. For me, also, it's not, I don't select images through my specific family history, but what I see most of the globalization or combining of these cultures happened around in 1800s and 1900s. So I go over internet, try to find these images, especially where I see a lot of interaction within Western and Eastern culture. A lot of this come from countries which were colonized. So a lot of my images are from India, newspapers, images from people from that time, especially like 1800s and 1900s. And then I try to find similar connections today. So find images kind of similar through that similar idea today, and then combine them. And then those 1800 images would be a kind of combination of people and their life both in colonial and colonizing countries. So one of the example with one of the images I had displayed in the exhibition is an Indian woman, silhouette of an Indian woman. But if you see close by, you can see how the life of a British woman living in India was at that point, and then how the life of Indian women at that point was, and in some cases also like people coming together, Western and Eastern, and how their life together was, things they were using, patterns, textiles. So a lot of this is kind of then and now combining together. And that's why a lot of it is like Hindi script, because one of the countries I refer to is, of course, India, being from there and knowing the history of our colonization. And that's how I select my images.
Great, yeah, thank you so much. I'm seeing some questions that are coming in, and one of them is, I think this can be opened up to anyone really, but maybe I'll ask Roya to answer first. If how are your artworks, received by non-immigrants? Do you see a difference with your artwork, maybe specifically those where you're talking about your immigration experience or a immigration experience? How are they received by non-immigrants?
Yeah, thanks for the question. Very good question, which is a big challenge for me as an immigrant artist as well, to find that, thin line between making art for my community and also making art as an immigrant artist for the not Western audience, but just like for people that they see my work in person here. In general, I have two different understanding or perception from my artworks. Sometimes I make arts, I choose themes or subjects that inspire me, and it's more about like my personal background or history. Those kind of installation or project makes it like more challenging for me, because I get a lot of questions from people that they don't have the background about that specific, for example, part of the Iranian history that I am addressing. So once I remember I received a very good feedback from one of my very close friends from my MFA cohort, that she told me a good piece of art should be a work that you don't need to have a 100 pages book next to it in order to explain it to people. And that definitely was very inspiring for me and definitely very thought-provoking. So for that kind of work, that it is more about like form of explanation, I try to provide my viewer with some form of background about the history or the context that I am addressing. But also I learned my lesson, over time by practicing, that I have to find that overlapping concept, that it is more universal, instead of like being specifically about, for example, me and the Persian or Iranian part of the history. So that is what I am trying to practice more these days, in order to address topics that is related to me and my immigration history, but also it's more in a universal language. For example, one of the projects that I can say, I was working on it maybe last year. It was a project that I was trying to address the issues that Iranian people, that they are dealing because of the popular culture and standards of the beauty that it is perceived through Instagram. And when I try to just like address issues in that Iranian context, and talks about like Iranian celebrities on Instagram. But at the same time, when people, they come to the exhibition and they saw my piece, they were not, first of all, they were very surprised by seeing these issues in the Iranian context. But at the same time, that was definitely an understandable topic, because this is something that people all around the world that like experience the standard of the beauty is changing through the westernized mold of beauty, you know. So yeah, I'm just like trying to make my work and like practice in order to make it like more understandable for the people that they don't have the background or that they don't know that historical context that I am talking about it. And definitely if someone is more curious to know those details, I can open up those details and tell them.
Yeah, no,
I
thank
hope
you.
that I answered your question.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, and I would definitely say there is merit to both, right? There is merit to those that specifically address a specific history and culture, but then I also understand your point about, getting to sort of a more universal topic that gets folks thinking by combining both. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can open up that question. I think I'll go to Andrea next. Same, I think maybe I'll ask another question that I had. Let me see if any other questions have come up. I think for Andrea, I wanted to ask, how does your experience as like a museum educator influence like your art practice too, or has it changed anything for you? I'd love to hear more about that.
Yes, thanks for asking that. It has, and in fact, more in the last couple years than ever before. I've been working as an art educator for many, many, many years, and I actually made an effort for a long time to keep a lot of things separate around it. Outside of there would be material overlap, you know, but basically the From Where to Here project is where kind of that broke that open into this new path for me. And it really came out of, this just horrific things that were happening at the border with Trump's policies, and just wanting to offer something in my community that could be celebratory, and also a community connection. So I realized that combining these two pieces could offer this kind of celebration of, I was in my museum experience, not only do I create art making activities, but I also work with a lot of musicians. So it kind of, added to this experience of, there's the music going and the rhythms going and people engaging with the artwork, as well as this other layer of, let's kind of engage in some conversation around people's experience. And, obviously not everybody's experience is positive, right? It's, so there's a real mix, but what I was really happy to see was that these events became kind of like safe spaces for people to sit next to each other and do these kind of easy art making activities while talking about what their own experience was. So watching that and seeing the experience of people in the community, it's actually really inspired me to continue with that. And unfortunately, when the pandemic hit, in-person activities were no longer a possibility, but I'm hoping to get back to that. And yeah, so I would say very much so in the last couple of years. So thank you for asking.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and I love, like, in my own experience of visiting museums, I love those moments where they ask, like, museums are asking, like, where are you from and where are you coming from? And it's just so, like, nice to see all of these, like, various experiences, right? Like, various threads, like, various journeys that people have taken to come to the US, like, because like Nimisha said, like, this is a country of immigrants, right? So it's just like really great to see in a space like that too. I think now I also wanted to address another question of like the physical space of this exhibition, right? This exhibition is at the Bayfair Center in San Leandro, and it's not a traditional art space. It's a commercial space, and I wanted to maybe start with Nimisha or Roya. I wanted to get your opinion on what that experience has been like for you to be exhibited in a commercial space, what it means to be in sort of like a commercial space in San Leandro that does have like a changing um, demographic as well, that is skewing more immigrant population wise. So yeah, I wanted to open it up to you two to talk a little bit more about that.
I can add something. Definitely, I am so glad that I had that opportunity, and we have the chance to showcase our work for a broader community instead of just like in galleries or museums, which I think most of us, I mean, all of us right now that we are talking about our work, we had that opportunity to showcase our work in institution, museums, or galleries. And one of the topics that we always talk about it as an artist, that the art is in the hand of institution, galleries, and museums, and there's just like so many filtering that it is happening, you know. And definitely for me personally, as a digital media artist, like one of the ways that we claim that, and we are so proud of it, because we have an opportunity to showcase our work, for example, through internet or net art, or in a form of that it is more accessible for people. And definitely seeing that my work also being exhibited in venues which is so-called commercial or whatever is called, you know, the most important thing is that it is not just in the museums or galleries. And definitely by this way we can approach more audiences. And for me personally, it's really important that my work be seen and also receive critics from people from different communities, you know, because I'm an immigrant, I'm coming from like different community, and conceptually for me, like this is the ideal thing that could happen, that I reach out to people, actual people, not just like selected people that they have chance to go to the galleries or go to the museums, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of shared similar views. For me, like being as an artist, for me the biggest thing is just reaching out to audience, because it's a way of communication. This is how I communicate. So one of the problems with galleries we see is they're very commercial, and you have a specific type of viewers and audience who go for to these galleries. So you're not actually showcasing these work which are meant for a purpose to the real audience. And I think this place venue kind of gives that opportunity. It is open for everybody and mostly covers a lot of the audience we would actually want to communicate to. So I think it is a really great opportunity for me. It just makes sense, like Roya said, it's the place we want to be rather than in a big gallery, just because we know that we can't get the type of audience we are targeting, which is what we can do here.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you both for answering that so well. For me too, it's, galleries and like museum spaces, as much as we can try to reach everyone, there is always like there will be some sort of barrier in place, right? Like not everyone is comfortable in a gallery or a museum space to enter those spaces because of historically how those institutions have come to be, right? But in a commercial space, like for me myself, like my immigrant family usually doesn't go to museums, even though that's something like I've done more of, like, and visited galleries. But I think my family would definitely be exposed to more art if they were in these commercial, in like balls and some public spheres. And I wanted to open it up to Andrea now to talk a little bit about, like, as a curator and artist as well, what it means, like, for her, to be in the Bayfair Center.
Thank you. It's just wonderful to hear everything that you all have said, and so much of that is in line with why I wanted to reach out to them. You know, there's just something about, like, I just from the minute I was sort of like walking through and seeing these different you could say space opportunities, you know, they're vacancies, as you know, so there's the economic impact of that, which I understand is not ideal for the Bayfair Center. However, from the moment I saw that, it was just this this moment where I could see how spaces like this on a both national and international level could be utilized this way. As people, you know, I mean, as we all know, people in terms of shopping are going more online, you know, and maybe even more so after this pandemic. And, you know, so I sort of did some research to see, well, what are places doing similar to Bayfair, who are losing some of their tenants? And I was just so impressed to find, like I said, like on an international level, artist residencies and just these really active spaces creatively. And I just suddenly had this vision of, what if you're going in and to the mall, and you're surprised by, you walk by, you know, an artist, like a potter on one side working on the wheel, a printmaker on another side, where and what that would mean, you know, especially if someone's not necessarily regularly engaged with the arts community, they might see a skill that they then want to pursue. You know, it might, it's not just about selling, right? It's like the experience of being exposed to different kinds of techniques. And so, you know, the vision sort of came to me as like, oh, what a wonderful thing to walk in, and, you know, maybe you have to do an errand, but maybe then you see somebody making a monotype, and you've never seen that before, and you want to check that out. And then the conversations also that could happen between the artists and the visitors. And so for me, this is, and then just in terms of an exhibition, just the surprise of having the experience of interacting with the artwork, and also with artwork that, you know, is not, it's, you know, that goes beyond what one might ordinarily see in that situation. That's purpose is not only for a decorative purpose, but has deeper meanings, and so can stimulate your mind as you're, you know, going about your day in a new way. So that was where I came at. That was my inspiration.
Yeah, well, thank you all for being here and taking the time to, you know, speak and do this session, this panel today. On behalf of Art Together, just would like to express our gratitude. For everyone else who's here today, this event goes till 8, but this platform is here, so if you'd like to stay and chat or stay and just explore this space, please feel free to do so. There is a survey at the information booth where you landed at the beginning. So if you'd like to spend, you know, it's a quick 1-minute survey. So if you have the time, please feel free to do so. And I will now stop broadcasting our artists. And if our artists could also just refresh their screen just in case, that would be great. Thank you.